Let's begin with the sentence people use when they want credit for technically behaving. We've never slept together. Okay. Maybe your bodies have never shared a bed, but your desire has. Your fantasies have. Your private pictures have. Your late night voices have. You know which message stops them in their tracks. You know which voice note requires headphones, a locked door, and a moment to collect yourself afterward. And if the two of you have helped each other get there from opposite sides of a screen, something sexual happened. The distance does not make it innocent. The phone does not make it imaginary. You do not have to share a mattress to have a sex life. Sometimes the phone becomes the bedroom. Sometimes the typing bubble is the foreplay. Tonight, we're going to stop hiding behind the word friendship. Welcome to the Corner with Jay After Dark. Before we go any further, this episode is for mature audiences. We are talking directly about sexting, phone sex, intimate pictures, shared fantasies, digital intimacy, emotional infidelity, consent, privacy, and sexual relationships between adults who may never have touched. This discussion concerns consenting adults only. Consent must be clear, mutual, enthusiastic, specific, and ongoing. A flirtatious history does not create permanent access. Consent to a message, picture, or digital intimacy is not permission to save, show, forward, post, or use private content later. And it is never automatic consent to physical intimacy. Nobody owes anyone a picture, a response, a sexual conversation, access to their body, or continued participation because it happened before. Anyone may stop or change their mind at any time, and every boundary must be respected immediately. This episode uses plain adult language without graphic descriptions or sexual instructions. Protect people's privacy, respect people's boundaries, keep private content private. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
The lights may be low, but the truth is fully visible. Pull up a chair, let the silence speak. We say out loud what we hide all week. No pretty little answers, no rehearsed remarks, just grown conversations after dark. Everyone
Welcome to the Corner with Jay After Dark, where the lights are lower, the conversations are grown, and technical innocence does not survive the night. This is where we talk honestly about desire, intimacy, boundaries, and the consequences people try to avoid in the daylight. I'm Jay. This is Season 7, Episode 3. We've never slept together, but that phone says otherwise. Tonight's question is not simply whether you should date. It is whether a relationship can honestly be called platonic when your words, pictures, voices, fantasies, and private energy already tell a different story. The sugar and spice version of this conversation has been dismissed for this evening. Innocent Jay is off the clock. Grown folks, let's talk about it. People love saying, nothing has ever happened between us. Nothing. Let us define nothing. If you sent a risky message and waited with your heart beating faster than a response, something happened. If you took a private picture specifically because you knew what it would do to that person, something happened. If you listened while they told you what they wanted, encouraged them to keep going and staying in that moment until both of you were completely satisfied, something happened. If you have had phone sex, baby, call it phone sex. If you have used words, pictures, videos, or voice to create sexual pleasure together, call it a sexual intimacy. The fact that you are not in the same room does not turn it back into friendship. It may not be physical contact, but it is sexual participation. The sexual relationship already exists. It is digital, but it is real. A screen creates distance. It does not create innocence. There's a difference between flirting and intentionally taking somebody to the edge. Now, flirting is like, damn, you look good today. What I'm talking about is, I know exactly what I'm doing to you, and I'm going to keep doing it. Flirting is a spark. What the two of you have created is a private sexual language. You know the words and the timing. You know when one period at the end of a sentence means the conversation is about to change. You know when an innocent selfie is not so innocent at all. You know, hmm, when call me pops up on that phone, it means do not put this conversation on speaker. And let me say the part that some people will fight me on. If you have helped each other reach release, then the two of you have shared a sexual experience. You are not merely discussing sex, you are participating in it together. Stop using geography as a loophole. The phone did not create the attraction, it gave the attraction somewhere to live. Now, we get to the deliciously complicated part. If the desire is mutual, the chemistry is obvious, and both of you know exactly what would happen if self control took the night off, why has the physical line never been crossed? Maybe the almost part is a turn on. The anticipation has been building for years. Every late night conversation adds another layer. Every picture raises the temperature. Every voice note gives the fantasy its own soundtrack. And if you were here right now, lets the two of you visit the moment without accepting the consequences. The fantasy is perfect because nothing awkward ever happens inside it. Nobody misreads the room. Nobody gets nervous. Nobody wonders what to do with their hands. Nobody wakes up the next morning asking whether the friendship is ruined. Reality does not promise any of that. Maybe you are afraid the physical connection will not live up to years of buildup, or maybe you're afraid that it will. Because what if it's even better than the two of you imagined? What if the first kiss confirms every late night thought you have been trying to dismiss? What if one night makes just friends impossible to say with a straight face ever again? What if you discover that the reason nobody else quite measures up is because you have been mentally and sexually comparing them to somebody you refuse to claim? There is also safety in keeping desire behind a screen. You can be bold and then send a laughing emoji. You can say exactly what you want and call it a joke. If the response scares you, you can end the call, put down the phone, and return to your regular life. You get the heat without having to stand in the fire. Fantasy is low maintenance. Reality requires an answer. And sometimes both people keep feeding the tension because the tension itself has become the relationship. Now, let us talk about the role this person actually plays. You have a bad day and you call them. You have a bad date and you text them. Your confidence is low and you know exactly who can remind you that you are still desirable. Your relationship feels cold and suddenly your quote unquote friend is keeping you warm through the phone. Sometimes that person becomes your emotional and sexual emergency contact. They know how to comfort you. They know how to make you laugh. And when comfort is not enough, they know how to make you forget whatever was bothering you for a little while. That is more than somebody checking in. That is relationship level access without relationship level responsibility. You can reach for their attention, affection, desire, and private energy whenever you need it. But nobody has to ask, where's this going? Nobody has to show up publicly, and nobody has to risk rejection. Nobody has to admit that this so called friendship may be functioning like a private relationship. Now, one person may secretly believe, hell, eventually we're going to end up together. And the other person may believe, this is somebody I trust enough to explore with, but I do not want anything more. And that difference is dangerous. Because sexting is not a promise. Pictures are not a commitment. Helping somebody get there does not mean you are willing to build a life with them. And access is not love. But let us not go too far in the opposite direction either. Just because access is not love does not mean no one has feelings. You cannot build years of emotional intimacy, sexual tension, private rituals, and late night vulnerability, and then act shocked when someone becomes attached. The phone may be casual to one person and deeply personal to the other. If you do not know which one you are, that is a conversation waiting to explode. This is where the room gets quiet. If either one of you is in a committed relationship, the word friend does not protect what you are doing. You cannot exchange sexual messages, intimate pictures, fantasies, and after midnight energy with somebody else and hide behind the fact that your bodies never touched. If you wait until your partner falls asleep before the conversation changes, oh, you know. If you silence the notification when your partner enters the room, you know. If you turn that phone over, lower that brightness, delete the thread, move pictures into a hidden folder, or save the person's name under something misleading, oh, you definitely know. If you would feel betrayed finding the same messages on your partner's phone, you already have your answer, love. Physical contact is not the only form of infidelity. Sometimes the betrayal is knowing the person beside you is giving their most uninhibited self to somebody who is not in a relationship. The official partner gets the exhausted version of you at the end of the day. The friend gets the version of you that appears after midnight. The partner gets, I'm tired. The friend gets, hey, you still awake? The partner gets a good night kiss. The friend gets the part of the night nobody is supposed to know about. And then people call the partner insecure because they can feel a third person standing inside the relationship. Maybe they notice how quickly you answered that friend's message. Maybe they notice the look on your face when the name appears. Maybe they notice that the friend receives honesty, sexual energy, and attention they have been begging to receive. Do not make somebody feel foolish for correctly reading the room. If the connection can survive only while your partner does not know the full truth, it is not the innocent friendship you keep calling it. Now, let us talk about the pictures. Not only the risk, the intention. Because an intimate picture is rarely just a picture. There is a decision to take it. There is the thought of one specific person seeing it. There is the moment before you press send. Then there's the wait. That type and bubble appearing, disappearing, and appearing again, while you wonder exactly what they are about to say. There is the response that tells you the picture did precisely what you intended it to do. The exchange is intimate, it's vulnerable, and yes, it can be incredibly hot. So let us stop pretending. Grown adults do not understand the power of being wanted by somebody who already knows their mind, their history, and exactly how to speak to them. But that heat does not cancel the responsibility. Phones get lost, accounts get compromised, cloud backups exist, messages sync across devices, screenshots exist, relationships end, and friendships change. And people sometimes become cruel when they feel rejected, jealous, embarrassed, or angry. So, before sending any intimate content, understand that once it leaves your device, you may no longer control every copy. Now, that is not judgment, that is reality for you. And if somebody trusts you with an intimate picture, protect it like the private gift that it is. Do not show it to your friends, forward it, or secretly save disappearing content. Do not use it as proof that you quote unquote had somebody. Do not keep it as leverage after the relationship changes, or assume receiving it means that you are entitled to another one. Vulnerability is not permission to violate someone. The person trusted you with access, but they did not surrender ownership of themselves. Moving right along, let's look at what this connection contains. You talk regularly, you confide in each other, you provide emotional support, you flirt heavily, you exchange intimate content. You know how to comfort each other after a difficult day. You also know how to turn each other on when the day is over. You have inside jokes, private rituals, favorite times to talk, and a version of the relationship that exists only after everybody else goes to sleep. Then there is a digital morning after. Nobody calls it that, but that is exactly what it is. The sexual conversation ends, the energy changes. One person stares at the screen, wondering whether a little too much was said, shown, or revealed. Somebody sends a nervous joke. Somebody might ask, "You good?" Somebody returns to regular conversations so quickly that both people understand they are pretending nothing happened. But something happened. There was buildup, there was participation, there was release. And now there's aftercare. You may not have shared a bed, but there was still a before, a during, and an after. Now, imagine the sexual part suddenly stops because one person enters a serious relationship. Do you simply respect the new boundary? Or do you feel rejected, replaced, abandoned, or quietly dumped? If losing sexual access feels like a breakup, this was never only friendship love. If you become jealous of a body you never had, attached or attached to promises nobody made, and hurt by boundaries you claim should not matter, the label may be missing, but the feelings are not. No title means nobody has explained where this is going. But no label does not mean no expectations. It does or does not mean no attachment. And it definitely doesn't mean no consequences. Here's another grown folks question with the conversation. Y'all, I'm getting tongue tied with this because, whoo, flashback. Do you want this person at 2 in the afternoon or only at 2 in the morning? Do you want their everyday life? Or do you want the version of them that appears when the lights are low, notifications are silenced, and neither of you is pretending that the conversation is innocent? Would you still choose them when nobody is flirting? Would you still want them during stress, grief, illness, money problems, family drama, bad moods, and ordinary Tuesday afternoons? Or do you want a trusted person who knows how to make you feel desirable without asking you to become emotionally accountable? Sometimes the secrecy is part of the heat. The distance is part of the heat. The timing is part of the heat. The fact that you should probably stop is part of the heat. Forbidden attention can feel intoxicating, y'all. Remove the secrecy, and you may discover that what felt irresistible was partly an escape from your real life. So ask yourself, do I want this person? Or do I want how powerful, attractive, and wanted I feel when their name appears on my screen? Those are not the same thing. Chemistry is real, but chemistry is not accountability. And wanting sexual access to somebody does not automatically mean you want a relationship with them. And that's okay if both people know the truth. What is not okay is allowing one person to believe the late night connection is leading somewhere while the other person knows it never will. Here's the other part of it. Your family and friends keep asking, why don't y'all just get together? They do not know what is inside the phone, but they see the energy. They see the eye contact that lasts a little too long. They notice how the room changes when both of you are in it. They hear the private jokes. They notice the hug that lingers. The pause before one of you looks away. And the way both of you become suddenly aware of where the other person is standing. They can see the physical tension even if the physical line has never been crossed. And if people can see that much without knowing about the messages, pictures, calls, fantasies, and after midnight version of the friendship, imagine what the full truth would sound like out loud. Outside observers do not know whether the timing has ever been right. They do not know whether one person wants more. They do not know whether the chemistry is healthy. But when everybody independently notices the same energy, it may be time to stop pretending that the energy does not exist. Sometimes people are not being messy. Sometimes they are saying out loud what the two of you keep hiding behind a locked screen. Now, we're at the question everybody has been waiting for. Should the two of you finally do what you have spent years talking about? Ooh, imagine the moment. For the first time, the door closes and the phone is no longer between you. The jokes stop. Every message, every picture, every late night promise, and every if you were here is suddenly standing in the room with both of you. There is a moment when one person looks at the other and asks, are we really doing this? That question needs a real answer, not an assumption, not momentum, not years of sexting being treated like automatic permission. Consent to pictures is not consent to touch. Consent to phone sex is not consent to physical sex. Consent given last week is not consent tonight. Cross into honesty first. Before the hotel room, the bedroom, the come over, or the moment that changes the friendship forever. Talk while the both of you are fully dressed, clear-headed, and able to hear an answer you may not like. And ask, what is this? What do we actually want? Are we both genuinely single and emotionally available? Is this a one night thing? Or are we exploring something real? What happens tomorrow morning? What happens if one person wants more? What happens if the physical chemistry does not match the fantasy? What happens if it does? If you cannot talk honestly before the clothes come off, you are not ready for what happens after they do. The hottest thing two grown adults can bring into that room is clarity. Because nothing kills a fantasy faster than realizing one person thought it was the beginning while the other thought it was just simply one night. And here's the truth people may not want to hear. Maybe you have not crossed the physical line, because the phone gives you the perfect version of one another. You get desire without the morning breath. You get fantasy without awkwardness. You get sexual honesty without having to stand naked in the emotional truth of what this connection means. It is much easier to desire someone privately than to choose them publicly. It's much easier to exchange fantasies than to build a future. It's much easier to send a picture than to say, I have feelings for you. It's much easier to say, we have never slept together than to admit, we have created something sexual, intimate, complicated, and real. And here's the part that may ruffle a few feathers. Sometimes other partners become placeholders while the deepest connection remains reserved for the friend. I said it. The official partner gets the title. The friend gets the truth. The partner gets the public pictures. The friend gets the private ones. The partner gets dinner. But the friend gets the appetite that nobody else knows how to satisfy. The partner gets the daytime version of you. The friend gets the version that appears after that bedroom door closes. Then you wonder why your official relationships feel like they are missing something. Maybe the most intimate part of you was already occupied. Maybe nobody else was ever given a fair chance because they were competing with the connection they were not allowed to know existed. Maybe the reason the two of you keep saying nothing happened is because admitting what you did would force both of you to make a decision. Now, I'm going to ask some questions. Don't answer me. Answer yourself. Would you hand your current or future partner that phone unlocked and let them read the entire thread? Have you ever opened one of their messages and immediately checked whether anybody could see your screen? Do you know exactly what their voice sounds like when the conversation is no longer innocent? Have you gotten yourself there because of something they said, sent, showed, or whispered? Have the two of you ever ended a sexual conversation and in return to normal as if nothing happened? If the sexting ended tomorrow because they met somebody they wanted to take seriously, would you respect the boundary or feel like you have been dumped? Have you ever become jealous of somebody you insist you have no romantic or sexual claim to? Have you ever compared the person you were dating to the person inside your phone? Have you ever imagined the exact moment the two of you finally become physical? If they called tonight and said, "I'm outside," would you open the door? If the two of you had a one consequence free night, do you already know what you would want to happen? Then stop saying nothing has ever happened. Would you take the risk? So here's tonight's question. You have a friendship that has outlasted every romantic relationship either of you has had, right? The emotional connection is solid. The sexual chemistry, ooh, undeniable. The messages are hot. The pictures are private. The fantasies have already been discussed. You know what the other person wants. They know what you want. The only thing you have not done is stand in the room and physically finish the conversation. Would you take the risk? Would you finally admit what you want and see whether that physical chemistry matches everything that has been happening in the phone? Would you keep the friendship exactly as it is and accept the tensions that may never go away? Or would you establish real boundaries? Because this private sexual world is keeping both of you emotionally unavailable to everybody else. There is no risk-free choice. Crossing the line could change the friendship forever. But hear me out. Refusing to acknowledge the truth is already changing it. Sometimes a friendship does not end because two people finally cross the line. Sometimes it ends because they stayed in the gray area too long. One person fell deeper, and nobody was honest enough to say what was happening. Sometimes the biggest risk is waiting until one person chooses somebody else and discovering the opportunity is gone. We've never slept together. Maybe factually true, but it's not the whole truth. Bodies are not the only things capable of creating sexual intimacy. Words create intimacy. Voices create intimacy. Pictures create intimacy. Fantasies creates intimacy. And trust creates intimacy. Helping each other reach release creates intimacy. The silence afterwards creates intimacy too. When all of that exists inside a friendship, the connection deserves an honest name, even when the honest name is complicated. You do not have to date. You do not have to become physical. You do not have to destroy a friendship because attraction exists. But at some point, you do have to stop lying to yourselves about what is happening. If you only want friendship, create boundaries that protect. If you want that person, shit, tell the truth. If you only want the fantasy, admit that too. But do not accept relationship level intimacy and sexual access from somebody while pretending there are no feelings, no expectations, and no consequences. That phone may be locked, but the truth is already sitting inside it. Now, I want to hear from the grown folks. Can two people still call themselves just friends after phone sex, sexting, intimate pictures, shared fantasies, and helping each other get there? Would you risk a strong friendship to find out whether the physical chemistry is as intense as the digital chemistry? If that person ended the sexual side of the friendship tomorrow, would it feel like respecting a boundary or surviving a breakup nobody knew you were having? And if you found this exact connection inside your partner's phone, would "we never touched" be enough for you? Keep the conversation respectful, but do not make it innocent. If you enjoyed this episode, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with somebody whose phone may be telling a story they refuse to say out loud. This has been The Corner with Jay After Dark. The lights may be low, but the truth is fully visible. Until next time, protect your privacy, respect people's boundaries, and remember, sometimes the most sexual relationship of your life is the one you keep insisting is not a relationship at all.